Good morning, everyone. Today, I want to share with you a simple yet powerful secret to leading a joyful life. Something that Gaur Gopal Das often emphasizes. The best way to stay happy is to stay busy. Now, I know what you might be thinking. How can staying busy bring happiness? Aren't we always told that life is about relaxation and taking it slow? Well, let me take you on a little journey of perspective. Happiness is often misunderstood as a fleeting emotion that arrives when circumstances are perfect, when desires are fulfilled, or when life seems effortlessly easy. Yet, in reality, happiness is rarely a passive experience. True, lasting joy emerges when our lives are driven by purposeful action, when every day holds meaning, and when our energy is channeled toward goals that resonate with our inner values. Purposeful action transforms ordinary routines into extraordinary experiences, turning what might seem like mundane tasks into opportunities for growth, fulfillment, and satisfaction. When we engage with intention, even small tasks carry significance, and the mind becomes occupied with constructive thoughts, rather than wandering aimlessly into doubt, worry, or dissatisfaction. The simple act of consciously choosing to act with purpose has a profound effect on our emotional and psychological state, creating a sense of accomplishment and contentment that cannot be manufactured by idle waiting or passive indulgence. When we immerse ourselves in meaningful work, our attention shifts from trivial distractions to focused engagement. The human mind thrives on challenges and involvement. It resists stagnation and craves the stimulation of progress. This is why individuals who commit themselves to purposeful action often radiate a sense of calm energy and inner joy. Purpose gives context to effort, and effort in turn produces results, tangible or intangible, that reaffirm the value of our actions. Even when the outcome is uncertain or the journey is difficult, purposeful engagement instills a sense of direction and clarity. It allows us to measure progress not just by achievements, but by the consistent investment of effort in pursuits that align with our values. This alignment between action and purpose creates a natural sense of satisfaction, because our energy is spent on things that matter, and we are no longer drifting through life without a clear reason or intent. Furthermore, purposeful action keeps the mind anchored in the present. When we are absorbed in meaningful work, our attention is fully engaged, and we experience a state of flow where worries about the past or fears of the future fade into the background. This immersion cultivates a deep sense of presence and mindfulness, allowing us to savor each moment rather than constantly seeking external sources of happiness. People who live purposefully understand that the pursuit of joy is not about avoiding challenges or eliminating stress. It is about embracing action with intention and finding fulfillment in the process itself. Every task, every responsibility, every small step toward a goal becomes an opportunity to exercise our creativity, discipline, and resilience. Through this engagement, the mind develops a natural rhythm of productivity and satisfaction, which in turn reinforces positive emotions and a sense of well-being. Engaging in purposeful action also builds a strong foundation for self-respect and confidence. When we take deliberate steps to pursue goals or contribute to something larger than ourselves, we experience a sense of capability and mastery. Each accomplishment, no matter how minor, strengthens our belief in our own abilities and fuels motivation to continue. This cycle of intentional action and achievement not only enhances happiness, but also fosters resilience, equipping us to handle life's inevitable setbacks with grace and determination. Purposeful action transforms energy that might otherwise be wasted in idle thought or passive waiting into tangible growth, inner strength, and emotional stability. It is this continuous engagement, rooted in intention, that enables happiness to emerge as a natural byproduct rather than a distant aspiration. allowing individuals to cultivate a life of meaning, satisfaction, and enduring joy. When the mind is idle, it becomes a fertile ground for negativity, worry, and discontent. Human beings are wired to think, reflect, and process the world around them. But when there is a lack of purposeful engagement, thoughts tend to spiral uncontrollably, often focusing on fears, regrets, or imagined failures. Idleness is not merely the absence of activity. It is the absence of direction and focus, which allows the mind to drift toward what is unproductive, stressful, or self-defeating. In these moments, small concerns magnify, perceived problems appear insurmountable, and the natural human tendency to compare oneself to others intensifies, creating a sense of dissatisfaction that can quickly grow into chronic unhappiness. The danger of an idle mind is subtle, yet profound. It may appear harmless on the surface, but over time, it erodes emotional resilience, clouds judgment, and diminishes the capacity for joy. The psychological impact of inactivity is significant because our brains require stimulation and engagement to maintain emotional balance. When there is a lack of meaningful activity, the mind tends to ruminate, replaying past mistakes or imagining future catastrophes, which triggers stress hormones and perpetuates a cycle of anxiety. This is why individuals who spend long periods without constructive tasks, whether due to boredom, procrastination, or lack of purpose, often find themselves feeling restless, irritable, or overwhelmed by minor challenges. Idleness, in this sense, is not neutral. It actively fosters negative thought patterns, limiting our ability to perceive opportunities, solutions, and sources of gratitude that are present in daily life. In contrast, when we fill our time with meaningful engagement, the mind is occupied with action rather than speculation. Purposeful work, learning, or creative expression leaves little room for destructive mental habits to take hold. It is in the rhythm of activity that the mind finds balance, focus, and clarity. Each task, each commitment, and each step toward personal growth serves as a countermeasure against the drift into negativity. When we are engaged, our energy is directed outward or toward constructive self-development, rather than being wasted on worry, envy, or regret. This is why highly productive and purpose-driven individuals often display remarkable emotional stability. Their minds are too busy building, learning, or contributing to be consumed by pessimism. Moreover, idleness can subtly distort perception, making problems appear larger than they are, and challenges seem impossible to overcome. Without engagement, the mind lacks a sense of progress or accomplishment, and feelings of stagnation can amplify frustration and dissatisfaction. Negativity thrives in such an environment because it feeds on inaction and helplessness. On the other hand, occupying oneself with deliberate and meaningful activity establishes a pattern of progress, however small, which naturally counteracts feelings of despair. Each completed task, each moment of focus serves as evidence that one can act, influence outcomes, and create positive change, reinforcing optimism and mental resilience. Maintaining purposeful engagement also strengthens emotional immunity. A mind constantly stimulated by learning, contribution, or creative effort becomes less vulnerable to external stressors, criticism, or comparison. This proactive approach to mental engagement is not about avoiding reflection or relaxation. It is about ensuring that reflection is constructive and that leisure is intentionally restorative rather than passive. By actively directing our energy toward meaningful endeavors, we prevent negative thought patterns from gaining dominance and cultivate a mindset capable of appreciating the present, solving problems effectively, and sustaining long-term emotional well-being. Growth is not a passive process. it is cultivated through engagement, deliberate effort, and consistent action. When we remain active in pursuits that challenge us, expand our knowledge, or stretch our abilities, we create the conditions necessary for personal and professional development. Engagement fuels growth because it transforms potential into progress, ideas into skills, and aspirations into achievements. A life without engagement is a life that stagnates, where the mind remains underutilized and talents lie dormant. In contrast, those who dedicate themselves to continuous involvement in meaningful activities experience a profound sense of advancement, not only in their capabilities, but also in their confidence, resilience, and overall sense of purpose. Every task approached with intentionality becomes a stepping stone towards self-improvement, creating a compounding effect where effort leads to skill, skill leads to achievement, and achievement reinforces the motivation to continue growing. Engagement is the mechanism through which learning becomes active rather than passive. Simply consuming knowledge without application rarely results in lasting transformation. Growth occurs when knowledge is tested, applied, and integrated into real-world experiences. When individuals immerse themselves in challenges, problem-solving, or creative endeavors, they stimulate critical thinking, adaptability, and innovation. These qualities are essential not only for professional success, but also for emotional and intellectual maturity. By remaining actively involved in pursuits that matter, we allow ourselves to confront obstacles, experiment with solutions, and develop the resilience necessary to navigate life's uncertainties. Growth through engagement is not instantaneous. It is a deliberate incremental process, yet each small step contributes to a more capable, confident, and empowered version of oneself. Engagement also fosters a deeper understanding of personal strengths and weaknesses. When we commit to meaningful activity, we are confronted with both our limitations and our potential. Tasks that challenge us force introspection, reflection, and adaptation, creating opportunities to learn about ourselves in ways that passive observation never can. Through consistent involvement, we begin to identify what drives us, what inspires us, and where we excel. This self-awareness is a critical component of growth because it allows us to focus our energy on areas of maximum impact, refine our skills, and pursue goals that align with our intrinsic values. The process of engaging with purpose ultimately cultivates a mindset of continuous improvement, where learning is lifelong, adaptability becomes natural, and personal evolution is inevitable. Moreover, growth through engagement generates a sense of fulfillment that passive activity cannot provide. When we dedicate ourselves to productive and purposeful tasks, the accomplishments we achieve, whether small or large, reinforce our sense of capability and worth. This intrinsic reward system motivates further engagement, creating a positive feedback loop where growth and effort sustain each other. Unlike superficial pleasures or temporary distractions, engagement-driven growth contributes to enduring satisfaction because it is rooted in achievement, contribution, and the realization of potential. It provides tangible evidence that effort produces results and that consistent involvement, rather than luck or circumstance, shapes personal success. Beyond individual benefits, engagement often extends outward, impacting the world around us. Growth through purposeful action allows us to contribute more effectively to our communities, workplaces, and relationships. Skills developed through active involvement enable us to solve problems, support others, and innovate in ways that elevate not only ourselves, but also those we interact with. This external dimension of growth adds meaning and significance to our actions, reinforcing the idea that engagement is not merely about personal gain, but also about creating value beyond oneself. By immersing ourselves in meaningful work, we simultaneously cultivate competence, confidence, and contribution, making growth a dynamic and holistic process that strengthens both the individual and the broader environment. True happiness is rarely found in isolation. It is amplified when shared and when directed toward the well-being of others. Helping others is not merely an act of kindness. It is a transformative practice that enriches both the giver and the recipient. When we engage in acts of service, we experience a profound sense of connection, purpose, and fulfillment. Our attention shifts from self-centered concerns to the broader context of community and contribution, and in doing so, our perspective expands. Small acts of assistance, whether through listening, mentoring, volunteering, or supporting someone in need, have a ripple effect that strengthens relationships, builds trust, and fosters a sense of collective well-being. In this process, joy is multiplied because it is no longer confined to an individual experience. It becomes shared, tangible, and enduring. Engaging in the service of others has a unique capacity to activate a sense of meaning in life. When our actions impact someone beyond ourselves, we are reminded that our existence is not solitary or inconsequential. Each opportunity to assist, guide, or uplift another person reinforces our sense of purpose and affirms the value of our contribution. Helping others creates a feedback loop where empathy and compassion lead to action, and action in turn fosters emotional satisfaction. Psychological studies consistently highlight that individuals who regularly engage in altruistic behavior report higher levels of happiness, lower levels of stress, and a stronger sense of belonging. This is because giving shifts our focus away from self-preoccupation and channels our energy towards something constructive, elevating mood, building emotional resilience, and promoting a positive mindset. Moreover, helping others cultivates humility and gratitude, qualities that deepen our emotional and spiritual lives. In supporting someone else, we gain perspective on our own challenges and privileges. Witnessing the struggles, resilience, and courage of others reminds us of the interconnectedness of human experience, fostering empathy and reducing feelings of entitlement or discontent. Gratitude naturally emerges as we recognize the impact we can have, and humility strengthens as we understand that everyone, including ourselves, benefits from support at different points in life. This combination of empathy, gratitude, and humility enriches relationships and nurtures an internal environment where happiness can flourish independently of external circumstances. Acts of service also expand our capacity for personal growth and learning. Each interaction, each effort to support or mentor someone requires emotional intelligence, patience, creativity, and problem solving. Helping others challenges us to think beyond ourselves, adapt to different needs, and develop skills that contribute to both personal and professional development. The joy derived from these experiences is intertwined with growth, reinforcing the idea that meaningful engagement in the lives of others is simultaneously a path to self-improvement. By giving, we strengthen our ability to connect, communicate, and create positive change, making joy and development inseparable from acts of contribution. Additionally, helping others builds a sense of community and belonging that is essential to human happiness. Life is not meant to be lived in isolation, and fulfillment often arises from the knowledge that we are part of something larger than ourselves. When we invest time, energy, and care in others, we create bonds that are mutually reinforcing. These connections offer emotional support, shared celebration, and collective resilience during times of challenge. The social and emotional benefits of helping are profound because they integrate the intrinsic satisfaction of making a difference with the external reinforcement of gratitude, recognition, and strengthened relationships. In essence, helping others transforms happiness from a solitary pursuit into a shared experience. The act of giving, serving, and contributing multiplies joy exponentially, not only brightening the lives of others, but also enriching our own inner world. By stepping beyond ourselves and focusing on the well-being of others, we tap into a source of happiness that is abundant, enduring, and deeply fulfilling. Resilience is not an innate trait that we either possess or lack. It is cultivated through consistent action, deliberate effort, and the willingness to remain engaged even when circumstances are challenging. Life is inherently unpredictable, presenting obstacles, setbacks, and moments of uncertainty that test our mental, emotional, and physical endurance. In these moments, the difference between stagnation and growth, despair and hope, lies in our ability to stay in motion. When we continue to act, pursue goals, and engage with purpose, we develop a capacity to withstand adversity, adapt to changing conditions, and emerge stronger from experiences that might otherwise feel overwhelming. Movement, both literal and metaphorical, keeps the mind active, prevents it from dwelling excessively on failure, and fosters a mindset oriented towards solutions rather than problems. Being in motion does not imply reckless or aimless activity. Rather, it involves sustained, intentional engagement in tasks, responsibilities, and pursuits that matter. Every step forward, no matter how small, strengthens our confidence and reinforces the belief that we can navigate challenges successfully. Action generates momentum, and momentum cultivates resilience by creating a sense of progress and agency. When individuals face difficulties but continue to pursue their objectives, they internalize the understanding that setbacks are temporary and manageable, and that persistent effort produces results over time. This understanding fundamentally changes how we perceive obstacles, shifting our focus from fear and frustration to possibility and opportunity. Engaging in purposeful action during challenging times also trains the mind to respond constructively to stress. Adversity often triggers instinctive reactions such as avoidance, worry, or paralysis, which can amplify negative emotions and hinder problem solving. By choosing to act, even when the path is uncertain or difficult, we condition ourselves to approach challenges with composure, determination, and creativity. Each instance of purposeful engagement strengthens emotional resilience, teaching the mind that obstacles are not insurmountable, and that persistence leads to adaptation and growth. Over time, this approach builds a mental framework that allows us to face increasingly complex challenges with confidence and clarity. Resilience is further reinforced by the lessons embedded in action. When we engage actively, we receive immediate feedback from our efforts, whether in the form of progress, learning, or correction. Each challenge encountered and navigated successfully enhances problem-solving skills, decision-making, and self-awareness. The process of trial, error, and adjustment is a critical component of resilience because it demonstrates that growth is possible even in difficult circumstances. People who remain in motion cultivate patience, flexibility, and strategic thinking, all of which are essential attributes for sustaining long-term success and emotional stability. Moreover, being in motion fosters a sense of empowerment. Challenges often feel overwhelming when we focus on what we cannot control, yet action shifts attention to what we can influence. By taking initiative and remaining engaged, we reclaim control over our circumstances and actively shape outcomes rather than remaining passive observers of life's uncertainties. This sense of agency is a cornerstone of resilience because it reinforces the belief that effort, persistence, and adaptability produce meaningful change. Even when progress is incremental, the act of moving forward instills confidence, hope, and a forward-looking mindset that mitigates fear and discouragement. In essence, resilience is not a static quality, but a dynamic process that emerges through sustained action, intentional engagement, and a willingness to confront challenges head-on. Movement, physical, mental, and emotional, serves as both a protective mechanism and a growth catalyst, enabling individuals to navigate adversity with strength, adaptability, and determination. By staying active, pursuing goals, and committing to purposeful effort, even in the face of obstacles, resilience becomes a natural byproduct of engagement, equipping individuals to thrive despite uncertainty and to transform challenges into opportunities for development and fulfillment. Happiness is often pursued as though it were a destination, a goal to be reached, or a reward to be earned. Many people structure their lives around the belief that once they achieve a particular milestone, acquire a certain possession, or reach a specific status, they will finally be happy. Yet experience consistently shows that happiness is rarely found in external circumstances alone. True and lasting happiness emerges as a natural byproduct of purposeful living, meaningful engagement, and deliberate action. It is not something that can be forced or bought. It is cultivated through the quality of how we live, the energy we invest in our pursuits, and the attention we give to the process of growth, contribution, and self-improvement. When we chase happiness as a direct objective, it often remains elusive because the mind becomes fixated on an outcome rather than the richness of the journey. Engaging fully in purposeful action shifts our focus from the superficial pursuit of pleasure to deeper fulfillment. When we dedicate ourselves to work that matters, learning that challenges us, or service that uplifts others, happiness emerges organically. It is a consequence of the satisfaction derived from effort, achievement, and contribution. The mind, occupied with meaningful endeavors, has less space for regret, envy, or dissatisfaction, and experiences of joy arise naturally from engagement rather than expectation. In this sense, happiness is the echo of purposeful living, the reflection of alignment between our actions and our values, and the reward for investing energy in things that matter. The process becomes self-reinforcing. Action produces progress. Progress produces satisfaction. And satisfaction nurtures a sense of well-being that cannot be manufactured through idle desire. Viewing happiness as a byproduct also reduces the pressure and frustration associated with striving for it directly. When it is treated as a goal, happiness becomes conditional, dependent on circumstances that may be beyond our control. Any delay, setback, or disappointment can derail our sense of well-being, leaving us feeling empty despite external achievements. However, when happiness is understood as the outcome of purposeful engagement, we recognize that it is inseparable from the way we live each day. The focus shifts from waiting for external validation or perfection to actively participating in the process of life. Joy then becomes less about accumulation and more about immersion, less about results and more about the effort, presence, and intention we bring to each moment. Living with this understanding encourages a mindset that values growth, contribution, and self-expression over comparison or fleeting gratification. When we engage in meaningful work, pursue personal development, and invest in relationships, we create conditions where happiness arises naturally. The sense of fulfillment is rooted not in achieving a particular state, but in knowing that our actions reflect purpose, integrity, and intentionality. Happiness is no longer a distant target, but an inherent consequence of living actively, learning continuously, and giving generously. It becomes sustainable because it is grounded in the ongoing rhythm of engagement, effort, and meaningful interaction, rather than in external circumstances or momentary pleasures. Moreover, treating happiness as a byproduct fosters resilience and adaptability. Life inevitably presents challenges, failures, and uncertainties, and those who view happiness as conditional often experience disappointment and emotional instability. In contrast, individuals who focus on purposeful action, contribution, and growth maintain a stable foundation of well-being regardless of external events. They understand that happiness flows from how they navigate challenges, the energy they invest in meaningful endeavors, and the alignment of their daily actions with deeper values. By concentrating on what can be actively cultivated rather than what must be passively received, they create a life where joy is both enduring and self-sustaining. In essence, happiness is not a goal to be chased, but a natural consequence of engagement, purpose, and intentional living. It arises when we devote ourselves to meaningful action, personal growth, and service to others, and it thrives in the context of a life well lived. By understanding this principle, individuals can focus on what truly matters, invest their energy wisely, and allow happiness to emerge effortlessly from the rhythm of purposeful, engaged, and meaningful living. So the next time you feel low, bored, or restless, remember Gaur Gopal Das's wisdom: keep yourself engaged, stay busy, and channel your energy into something meaningful. Happiness is not a destination, it is a byproduct of action, purpose, and contribution. Fill your days with learning, serving, creating, and loving, and watch as joy naturally finds its way into your life. Stay busy, stay purposeful, and most importantly, stay happy. Thank you.